Welcome to Becoming a Financially Savvy College Student. My name is Connie Jaime Lujan. I work at the Access Center at Colorado State University, and I'm honored to be asked by the Academic Advancement Center to do this short 30-minute presentation to you to give you some tips on how to become a financially savvy college student. Now, because we only have 30 minutes together, I thought I'd share my contact information with you so that way you can contact me if you'd like to do further information. There is so much out there on financial literacy. You could spend hours and hours and weeks working on financial literacy. And I actually think it's a lifelong tool that I'm still working on and love to share some tips with students. So please take a screenshot and contact me if you'd like more information. All right, let's talk about the goals of this presentation. One of the things I want to do is share some resources that will help you become a financially savvy college student. The second thing I'd like to do is give you helpful tools for budgeting and money management. And one of the most important things that I like to do is give you insight on why we spend money the way we do, and then some options that can help you inform your future behavior. Let's start with resources for funding a college education, since you all are college students. One of the first resources that families and students think of when looking at financial resources is doing the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, the CSU scholarship application, which is available to CSU students, usually opens October 1 and closes March 1, and the CSU institutional application for asset students who are not able to complete the FAFSA. These are important tools and resources that will actually be covered in a workshop that AAC and the Financial Aid Office at CSU were offered together in the first part of October. Another really important resource definitely is budgeting and managing money, and that's what we'll talk about today. We'll also talk about scholarships, student loans, financial policies, really quick touch base on credit cards, debit cards, credit score, and also taxes and retirement. These are all topics that the Academic Advancement Center wanted to make sure I gave you some quick tips on. One of the things I'd like you to think about is, what is the most important thing for managing money? So just take a few moments to think of an answer. And at any time that you want to stop this recording, please feel free to do so. Rewind, take pictures, whatever works best for you. Now, most people think about the math, money in and money out. Well, I think J.D. Roth has another really good perspective that's important, that really impacts the money in, the money out. And it's really more about the mind than the math. And J.D. Roth has a great website that's in the bottom right-hand corner, the Get Rich Slowly website. He has some great tips and tools that help with money management. So let's explore a little bit more about the mind, what I feel is more important. And the College in Colorado website, listed at the bottom of your screen, is a great website to go to. So again, please feel free to take a picture of this website, or pause the presentation and go to the website now. But this website does a nice job exploring the impact of the psychology of money. What they look at is that we need to address the head, so how the money works, so that's definitely the math, the money in, the money out, and the heart, how people feel about money, which is the mind. And once a student or an individual figures out what they're in control of, which is beliefs and behavior, that can really help with the money management process. So your beliefs are anything that you think, feel, your opinions and your expectations about money, and behaviors are actually what you do with money, how you spend it, how you save it, and how you invest it. Here's an example. We feel hopeless, so that's our belief, because we live from paycheck to paycheck. That's our behavior. So to compensate, we use our credit card, which is our behavior, because we think and that's our belief, that we deserve good things. So that show that talks about, or coined the phrase, treat yourself, comes to mind when I read this example. But this is a great example of how our beliefs and behavior really impact our money management. One other thing I'd like for you to think about is how peer pressure might impact your money management. So just take a few moments to think about maybe specific times that you've done something because somebody pressured you into it, you wanted to fit in, and you just wanted to be part of the crowd, right? Oftentimes what happens is we make choices to help us fit in, and that may mean high debt because we used our credit card in something that we really couldn't afford, or maybe we used cash that we had on hand to buy meals for the week, or we often end up working numerous hours because we need to make up for the money we spent, or we end up not buying things that we really did need. All right, let's explore some budgeting tools that I think will be helpful for you as a college student. So definitely budgeting is money in and money out, the math part. So there are some great tools out there that will help you do this well. I'm going to highlight just a very few. One of the key things to think about as you're doing your money management is the research shows that you need to use tools that you'll use immediately in your life. So some of the things we'll talk about today, retirement, you may not use right away, but I'm just going to give you some tips to keep in the back of your mind so that when you do start working, you start planning for retirement at that time. But otherwise, as you're doing your money management tools, look at things that you will use right away. And once those have become habits, look at other tools that you can implement that become new and additional habits that will strengthen your money management. One website that I really like is themint.org. This website does a great job of giving ideas and tools and suggestions on spending. This is a neat little quiz that you can take just to find out what kind of spender you are. So again, take a picture of this website or feel free to pause this presentation and go to the website and find out what kind of spender you are, and then join us in a minute or find out what kind of options you might be answering questions to. Here's the results of that quiz. If you come out as an avoider, you put off making money decisions. If you came out as a collector, you like to see your money make money. If you came out as a spender, you enjoy spending and think little about how to pay for your purchases. If you're a thinker, you care about others who have less than you do, and you often feel guilty about having more than they do. If you're a miser, you like to save every penny and do not enjoy spending at all. A few other tools that others have recommended to me are the Every Dollar app and the Good Budget app. So just Google those two. They're nice apps that you can actually download on your computer or on your phone, and they will help you keep track of how you're spending your money. Now they do tie to your bank account, so it actually does keep really good track of how you're doing this. And some banks will have similar tools. You might want to look those out up from your bank, because the one concern I have about these tools when they're outside entities is you're giving them access and information to your bank account. I honestly don't feel comfortable with that, so I would look for a tool that your bank has available, or maybe some other tools online that you can personalize and not have linked to your bank account. They may be more work, but it may be worth it in the long run. Another great website is NerdWallet. They have good tools and ideas as well. One tool that I like to do with students is a budgeting worksheet. We actually spend time just looking at the academic year and all resources that a student may have, and then we look at all expenses that the student will have, and then come up with the bottom line to make sure their resources exceed their expenses. If not, then we see where we can manage some things, kind of tailor them to the student. And then also look at the fall bill. Will they have a refund, or will they need a plan for an amount that's due for fall or an amount that's due for spring? This is something that I would definitely be glad to do with any of you if you'd like to. Again, my contact information was at the beginning. Hopefully you have a screenshot of that. If not, I'll have it again at the end of the presentation for you. Here's another activity that I believe shows the value of money, that every little bit adds up. I call it the value of a penny. It's a quick activity that you can do, and again, feel free to pause the presentation if you'd like. But what I'd like for you to do is to look at, if you take a penny on the first day of a month and then you double it, and then double that amount every day for the full month, so all 30 days, and then calculate how much you would have at the end of the month. So in other words, as an example, on the first day you'd have 1 penny, the next day by doubling it you'd have 2, the next day doubling that you'd have 4, the next day doubling that you'd have 8, etc., etc. So definitely feel free to pause the presentation and do the calculation if you'd like. right, so if you're back after pausing or you Googled or just want to see the answer, here's the results. You will actually have $5.3 million at the end of a month if you take one single penny and double it every day for 30 days. That's an incredible amount. Now, most of us around day 14 will be, that's enough as far as we can go. We can't really start doubling after that, because if you look at day 20, it's at $5,000 plus. And then so day 21, it goes to $10,000 plus. That'd be great if we were able to do that. I just like to show this because this just really shows how every little bit that you save can add up, and then also gives an idea of how interest compounds when you're saving as well. So just of an activity to kind of show you the value of little things. Next, let's talk about another resource that many of you have access to, and that's different financial aid awards. I think it's really important to understand the financial aid that you may be eligible for or that you may have been offered. Financial aid includes grants, which is free money from federal, state, or institutions, and it usually does not have to be repaid. Be careful, there are some grants that you do have to repay if you don't meet the requirements after you graduate. There's also work study. Usually it's a job on campus, and financial aid helps pay part of your earnings, and the student receives a paycheck every 2 weeks. Now, this is a job that students do need to find work and then earn a paycheck every 2 weeks. Usually this money students find helpful for the everyday miscellaneous things. Maybe a pizza here and there, a new jacket, a new pair of jeans, things of that nature. One thing that students often know about is student loans. These are low interest money that helps students attend school and are usually repaid after the student graduates. And then, of course, scholarships. Everybody loves scholarships because they're usually free money that is earned by either your academics or other performance, and usually requires an application. As I mentioned earlier, everybody wants a scholarship. They're really tough to apply for and very competitive. So what I often work with students to do is think about ways you can create your own scholarship. So I have a list of some self-created scholarships that will help you look at ways that you can earn money. So these are ways to create your own scholarship. Usually they're easier than getting other types of scholarships. You're only competing against yourself, and it really puts you in control. Now let's look at some examples of these self-created scholarships. Most of us love our gourmet coffee every day. It's wonderful. Talk about comfort, that nice warm cup of coffee, and away we can go, get our day going. Well, if you spend $4 a day, Monday through Friday, that's about $20 a week. And we have 32 weeks in an academic year. So if you decide maybe you'll just make your coffee Monday through Friday, you can actually save yourself $640. Now notice, I didn't say anything about the weekends. Budgeting is really about a balance. It's about making choices that will help you balance things out well, where you don't feel cheated, because it's like a diet. If you kind of deprive yourself from doing things, you will splurge. So I think it's a balance. So maybe Monday through Friday, you decide that you're going to make your coffee, and on the weekends you're going to indulge and just enjoy that latte. I call this the latte scholarship. Let's look at another example. Let's look at soft drinks. In the vending machine, they're about $2 each. Again, if you say Monday through Friday, I'm going to cut one a day, that's about $10 a week. In the 32-week academic year, that's a savings of $320. I call this a Pepsi or Coke scholarship. Now, there really is a Coke scholarship that you may want to research, but just so you know, this is a Coke scholarship that you can definitely give yourself if you're a pop drinker. The next one is the car scholarship. A parking permit at CSU is about $600 an academic year. Can be less depending on where you park. I typically see students spending about $100 a month on car insurance, which adds up to about $1,000 for the academic year. Most students spend an average of $75 per month on gas, so that's $750 for the academic year. And registration's typically around $75 per year for a vehicle. Can be more if you have a four-wheel drive or larger vehicle. And then usually there's an average repair of about $400. Can be new tires, the transmission goes out. You all know what happens with cars. So this total is $28.25. So this car scholarship can really add up. Now, if you have a job that you earn more than that and that you need to get to, then it's definitely worth it. But if not, then, riding your bike, the bus system in Fort Collins is paid by your student fees. So definitely take advantage of that. You've already invested in the transportation around Fort Collins. All right, one or two last couple self-created scholarships. This one's bottled water. It has a similar cost as a Coke or Pepsi in the vending machine. So again, it has the $10 a week savings for the 32-week academic year. That's a $320 savings. So this is the water bottle scholarship. I like to save the environment and bring my own water bottle. So these scholarships or self-created scholarships can also apply to eating out. Eating out at a moderate price place instead of an expensive place. Not getting parking tickets. Sometimes it's cheaper to get a parking permit than suffer all the parking tickets that are really expensive. Avoiding late fees, whether it's on your student bill or also could be on credit cards that you have or other bills that you're paying. You can definitely come up with other self-created scholarships. All right, next let's talk about student loans. Just want to give you a few quick tips on kind of borrowing know-how. One question that is often asked, and a lot of us have definite opinions on, and I'll share mine, is if student loan is good or bad debt. Take a few moments to think about what you feel about student loans. I know the public opinion is they're bad because students get a lot. I actually think they're actually good investment if a student really looks at what they're going to need to take out. Usually financial aid offers the student the max that's available and within the student's eligibility, but they really want students to think about, do they really need that loan amount? We have students who will take no loan at all just because loan has a negative connotation, and we have other students who take everything they're given. We'd really like for students to land somewhere in the middle and take what they need. That way they're not suffering because they don't have enough resources and they're working 2 and 3 jobs to try to stay on top of bills, and then they're getting sick or they're missing classes because they're working so much. Or if they take an average amount that's needed, they could be in class, they can get their degree done and be out working so they can repay that loan well. So this next slide shows this demonstrates that well or illustrates it well. If you live like a student now, you don't have to pay, you don't have to later. So if you take out what you need now rather than taking everything, when you get done with school, your loan repayment amount will be manageable. If you take out a lot of loan or take a long time to graduate and end up with a lot of loan debt, you're going to feel like you're living like a student later because you're having to pay such high loan payments every month. This next slide is a screenshot of the CSU Financial Aid Guide. This is something the office puts out every year, has great information. One of the pages, several pages actually, are on student loans and really talking about what's the average loan debt for a student that graduates from CSU, what are the loan repayment options if you borrow so much per academic year. Typically you have 10 years to repay your loan. You can extend that if you've got a large amount that you've borrowed. Or you can look at graduated payments where the payments start small and get bigger, because the thought is that your salary starts a little bit lower and gets bigger as you advance in your career. Just be careful, because as you can see from this chart, the amount of interest that you pay with the extended and the graduated payments really is a lot larger because they give you more time to repay it. So they can have anywhere from 12 to 30 years instead of the 10 years with the standard repayment. This is a helpful tool to kind of know what the average loan debt is and options for repayment. Another really helpful tool is your StudentAid.gov website. This is the website where they've combined lots of things with financial aid. This is where you'll actually start finding that you'll apply for financial aid each year through the FAFSA if you're eligible, and then you'll log in just like you do with the FAFSA with your email and password. And then what you'll do is go to the student loan section, and it'll actually tell you how much loan you've borrowed throughout the years. This is also the place where you can find out who's servicing the loan for the Department of Ed on their behalf. You can do your entrance counseling. You can also sign master promissory notes, and you can also do your exit counseling when you graduate from CSU. So my recommendation, student loan debt is good debt. It's an investment in your future. Your college education will be something that no one can take away from you. So if you need to take a little loan debt, it's worth it. The average loan debt at Colorado State University is about $25,000, and because of your college degree, you should make about $1 million more in your lifetime. So definitely one of the best investments that you can ever make. The other great thing about student loans is it has tax benefits and provision that other loans don't have. Forbearance is something that if you can't make any payments, they'll either wait till you can or let you make small payments. Deferment is when you need to defer your payments because you're going on to grad school or maybe going into the Peace Corps. Or loan forgiveness is helpful as well. If you're going into the field helping individuals that are limited income, they can forgive part of your loan and you don't have to pay it back. Do be aware, though, that the amount that's forgiven is often taxable on your federal income taxes. Some other things that to be aware of is that students will often think, well, I want to consolidate my student loans, my credit cards, this other private loan all in one. But be careful with that. It's a nice thing to have one payment, but you may lose some of these provisions that I mentioned above. Also know that student loans are not usually included in bankruptcies. So later in life, if you get out of college and have a lot of debt and want to declare bankruptcy for some reason, your student loans usually are not included as forgiveness in bankruptcy. It's really important to communicate well with your loan servicer so that the loan default doesn't ruin your credit or doesn't prevent you from getting a job or have your tax or your wages garnishes, your tax refunds garnished, which means instead of getting the refund, the government takes it to pay back your student loans. I do recommend that students pay off their loan as fast as they can. They give you a monthly amount to make payments so that way you can get done in 10 years with the repayment, but you can't pay early, and that goes for any loan that you take, a house, a car, a personal loan. You can prepay the amount and you actually pay it back faster and with less interest. And then once you've paid off that debt, make sure that goes into savings for the next investment that you'd like to make. Let's talk about some financial policies that impact your resources while you're in college. The Financial Aid Office has a great web page on their website, so please take a picture of this, and again, feel free to go there now if you'd like to. It gives you really good information on credits that are required for certain types of financial aid, if there's a grade point average required, and satisfactory academic progress. This is a federal law that says to receive financial aid, you have to be making good progress towards a degree or not being in college too long, and definitely have a minimum grade point average of 2.0. This page also gives you the impact of withdrawals or the impact of repeating a class. This is a great page to be aware of so that way you don't get a surprise by something that you did that you didn't know would impact your financial aid. Another key thing that I like to share with CSU students is make sure you understand your CSU bill. Know how to find your bill on RAMWeb. Review your bill for accuracy and know the due dates and what happens if you don't pay on time. CSU won't stop you from going to class. They won't stop you from living in the residence halls. They won't stop you from eating food. What they do is they do charge you 1.5% per month to pay later. That doesn't sound like much, but times 12 months, that's an 18% interest rate. The student loans that you're offered right now are like at 2.75%. So it's cheaper to take the student loan than suffer the fee to pay later. And then also check to see if you've been charged for health insurance, and especially if you don't need it, because that's about a $1,500 a semester charge that can really add up. Great health insurance, but if you don't need it, you don't want double. Let's touch briefly on credit cards, debit cards, and credit report. Credit cards are usually considered bad debt. However, if you use them wisely, it can help build good credit. And one way to use them wisely is to only charge in emergencies or what you can pay off at the end of each month. And if you do have a credit card, make sure you check your score once a year with the 3 reporting agencies. Here's the website, and you can check for free at least once a year to make sure that your credit's in good standing and no one else is abusing your credit. Now debit cards. Most of us have a debit card, so or a couple things that I usually give as tips is to put an alert and limits on your debit card to avoid spending more than you have. Be sure you have overdraft protection, which also means that if you do accidentally spend more than you have for some reason, that the bank will protect you from it, that they won't charge you $75 a transaction, because that can really add up quickly. Make sure you opt in to have your debit card not authorized when you don't have sufficient funds in your bank account. And I don't recommend using your debit card for online purchases, because if somebody gets a hold of your debit card number, they can clean out your bank account, and your bank account is not as protected as a credit card. If somebody commits credit card fraud with your credit card, it's covered except for maybe $50, so that's not too bad. So if you have a credit card that you can use online that has a low limit, that in case somebody gets a hold of it, you're protected, that's a great tip. All right, let's talk about taxes and retirement. One great thing that I advise students to do is to search on the IRS website to find volunteer income tax assistance, or VITA, sites. They will actually do your taxes for free. During the academic year on campus, our student government, ASCSU, often tries to make sure we have VITA volunteers right on campus. College of Business will often do that as well. So they're free. It's really helpful. Another good tip is to learn how to do your own taxes. I know I learned how to do my own, and I did my family's, so I hopefully saved us lots of money, and so far so good. You do have important tax information on your RAM. It's great to print that out and take it to the tax preparer and then know how to use it well. Make sure you have taxes taken out of your paychecks to avoid paying federal or state taxes at the end of the year. This is a little amount that they take out every month, and then at the end of the year, if you've paid your amount due, you'll be fine. Or if you paid more, you end up with a refund. But if you paid less, that's when people owe on their taxes. All right, let's talk about retirement. One key thing, and I know retirement seems far away, but it happens very quickly. I recommend to students start saving the minute you start working. Just really make sure you have a retirement plan, and if your employer has a plan that they will match what you put in, definitely take advantage of that. That's a doubling your money benefit there. Do investments that are taxed now so that they are not taxed later when you are retired. It sounds great to get something tax-free right now, but then if you take it out later when you retire, they will tax it at that time, and typically you fall into a higher tax bracket when you retire than at the time you put the money in. So have it taxed now. It feels kind of like a big chunk is taken out, but it'll be a lot less than later. Then definitely ask lots of questions and get help from people who really know what they're doing with retirement. And here's that phrase again. Once you're working, live like a retiree now so you don't have to later. Again, it's about choices. You want to be balanced. Definitely have fun. Don't feel like you're depriving yourself. But make some choices so that way you can enjoy now. And definitely when you retire, you want to enjoy retirement more. All right, let's wrap up this presentation with some next steps. I always feel like it's important to do a training and then make sure I gain something from it. So here's my tool to help you do that. What I'd like for you to do is to really look at what impacts how you spend your money and then use this to your benefit. So think about those psychology and money things and the things that we believe and the behaviors that we have, and think about how can this be used to my benefit? How can I fine-tune it? And then look for tools that work for you. Like I mentioned earlier, there are so many tools out there. It's exciting, and it can also be overwhelming. So find tools that work for you, and then let me know if I can help you with this. And then definitely ask somebody to support you or do it with you. I always find that I do things better when I have somebody who's supporting me or in it with me as well. All right, best wishes on your path to becoming a financially savvy college student. I'm excited to share these tips with you because when I was a college student, I literally put my financial aid refund in my sock drawer. That wasn't sure what to do with it. So a friend showed me how to open a bank account and manage my money, and I've been learning ever since, and I'm excited to share some of the things I've learned along the way with others. If you have future questions or need assistance, here's my contact information again. So feel free to reach out to me. I love helping students figure out how to do things better. So thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed this presentation, and good luck.